deep down, when you're wanting to give them the life that you never had, that is part of being the protector that is just hasn't been nurtured. It's not mature,
Right.
right? You know, I grew up, my parents were very young when they had me. They were 19 and 22. And by the time I was 17, my mom she was only 36, right? Like it was pretty wild how young she was, right? And I wanted to become a DJ after college or after high school. My dad says. So, what school are you going to go to and what are you going to take? And I said, well, I'm not going to college. I'm going to be a DJ. And he says, no, that's stupid. You're not going to do that. DJs don't make any fucking money.
Right.
And you're either going to go to school or you're going to get a really good job where you're going to make a good quality salary and get a pension. Right. And I took that on. Right. Yes, I was angry about it, but I did it, and I went against my will. Right. Or my knowing, but I didn't, so young, I didn't recognize it at the time, that I just wanted to be an entrepreneur. Right. Deep down, I just didn't know how to describe it. I didn't know what my passion, my purpose was, but I knew something was living in there. But my dad was just trying to protect me. He was just trying to protect me the best he could, the best he knew, because he lived life a certain way, and he struggled through the military, and he recognized that, hey, you need to have a good job if you want to survive in today's world, right? And he wasn't wrong.
It's a cultural thing,
right?
Yeah.
No.
But it kind of, in funny ways, messed me up a little bit, right? Unintentionally.
Right.
Now I see it. And
Well, listen, I think that also at a young age, we don't have experience in our life to really make a real decision. Like, you knew that was your calling, but like, you know what?
Yeah.
You could have still been a DJ, but you could have done it while you had a job and did it part-time.
which is what I did.
Right.
I ended up doing that.
It didn't stop you from doing it, but I get that part. Like, we understand they want to be slightly protective because especially these younger generation. Like, I started working when I was 13 years old, right? Yeah. I delivered papers at 12. At 13, I got my first job as a busboy, right? And I experienced a lot of different jobs that I knew, well, I want to fucking do that for the rest of my life,
Hell no.
right?
Yeah.
Where now you have to be 16 years old before you get your first job, but you're almost graduating high school. You have zero life experience, and you expect to make a decision of your rest of your life without having any experience.
Yep.
Right. And I don't want to blame anybody for that, but I think that's part of our political society where all those jobs used to give the kids
system as well. Again,
yeah.
And here's your guidance counselor. Here's your thing. Pick your career path right now and go.
Right. It's just
And
wild.
I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't even want to be a mortgage broker, but that's what I ended up being.
Right.
So,
we can't dictate as men what jobs our kids are going to get, but we can certainly model a life of integrity, a life of discipline, right? A life of healthy routines and habits in our household that at least set them up as best as possible to be successful, right? If your kid is waking up every day and, they're being coddled, they're being driven to school, they're not making their own lunches, they're not making their own bed, they're not doing their own laundry, what happens? You end up, a man on his own in his apartment for the first time who doesn't even know how to make macaroni and cheese, let alone take care of himself or wash his own laundry.
Yep.
Yeah.
What kind of life is that?
Well, I think part of masculinity also says here leadership, right? Teaching your kids, leading your kids, leading your kids to the right path. And like, I think if you raise a good human being, somebody who's well balanced, who's got resilience, who's not an emotional wreck, right? Like if you did that, I think as a man, you succeeded, because they're going to succeed no matter what they do. It doesn't matter if they're shoveling snow in the corner or whether they're going to be a doctor. Those people will always succeed because it doesn't matter what you do in life. It's who you are.
Yes.
And I think part of being a masculine king, man, energy person is be able to lead your family to that place. Can't do it for them, but you can definitely lead them.
Yeah, and I think it's important, as in masculinity, that we do the things without anyone knowing you're doing them.
Yeah.
Like, do the things that you're supposed to do when nobody's watching.
Right.
Right. Because then that's really what matters. Like, I tell Nathan this quite a few times. Do the right thing because it's just right, not because somebody's watching and you have to do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's important to remind them. And just for us men in general, is it's important to make sure you're living life aligned with your beliefs and with integrity when nobody's even watching, when you're home by yourself and, doing whatever it is that you're doing. I think that's important.
That's integrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah.
is like it's who you are. It's not what people see. It's just who you are.
Right. Right.
It's if you don't pick up the garbage in your house, you can't pick up the garbage outside. So when people aren't looking, like at the end of the day here, you just want to be who you are all the time. And being authentic to yourself. This is an interesting one, stillness.
Yeah.
Like a person who's a healthy, balanced masculine is somebody who's able to be still. Right. And I think we forget just to take a moment, and just enjoy the nothingness of doing nothing.
It's hard to do.
Oh, it's so hard. I in my own experience, there was a long while in my life where I was always with someone, right? Whether it was my son's mom, another relationship. It wasn't until I was on my own for, I think it was 4.5 years that I actually grew. And being lonely is not the best thing, it doesn't feel right. But for me, it's a choice I made for a variety of different reasons. But you learn so much by being on your own and discovering who you are and allowing yourself to hear yourself instead of being distracted by all these different things that can happen. So this idea of stillness can happen when you're at the loneliest or when you're lonely, and I think it's important to sit with it.
I think there's a big difference between being still and being lonely.
Well,
Absolutely.
I think you could still be still. Like if I'm understanding this right. So still means sort of your mind and sort of just how you're feeling. When you're lonely, I'm not saying it's the same.
You were alone, but you weren't lonely.
Correct. Okay. So
Right,
let's
'cause,
say,
like-
yeah. So fair. Like that's a better way of describing it. It's when you're alone where it's important to be still because then you get distracted or pulled from different things. So yes, it's not, yes, I'll correct that for sure.
When you're being still, you are just being with yourself. And when you're always surrounded by people, by distractions, by work, by whatever, you're not just being with yourself. So it's not uncommon for men who have never practiced stillness to be very uncomfortable being with yourself. But there's something beautiful about it. Right? When you can tap into it. I know for myself, I always had to be around people. I always had to,
We all were.
life at the party, like all that stuff. But when I started to really understand what it was like and what I was dealing with personally and really being my number one cheerleader in those moments, it allowed me to grow as well. So that stillness puts you in a position where you have to be with yourself.
And see where you're at, because that's only in the stillness that the questions come.
Absolutely.
And Lord knows, and I've been guilty of this in my life, and this is one of my family traits, is that we stay super busy, so we don't stop to think. And it's like the minute that it's like, I found another 15 minutes in the day, okay, put something else in there and get it done, because I'm not sitting with my feelings. No.
And that was like, for me, like even when I was still, I smoked. Because I could, and when I became aware of why I smoked, I didn't like to be alone with myself. So smoking was my companion. So like you're distracted no matter how you but you're not fully with yourself.
Something to do.
Yeah. And when I was finally comfortable enough to actually sit still and just allow my mind to have the thoughts they had and just track them down and became aware of what I was thinking, what came from my wounds, what's truly calling me for my purpose. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, you know what? I'm starting to really get to know myself. And people don't know who they really are because they're never still enough to ask the questions.
That's right.
Like, why am I thinking about this right now when, I know it's not good for me? Well, then you can go back and say, what was the wounded part of me that needs to feel this certain way? So if anything, I can say that stillness is so important, just to get to know who you are and ask yourself the deep question, like, who really am I? And what do I want to become? Who do I want to be? And that you can only do that in stillness.
What are some of the other words that are on that David shared with us?
Self.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Okay. Take a moment. All right, it's long enough. Self-defined, assertive, a desire to provide and serve. I think that's a big thing. The desire to not just provide, but also to serve.
The serve is the important thing, and that's underrepresented. I think even our generation,
Yeah.
all the way around. This whole bit of it's somebody else's job. It's not mine.
Yeah.
And it's like garbage. The thing that we were talking about yesterday of like garbage on the ground.
Right.
If you see something, will you pick it up, or is it there's somebody else that's paid to do that? Why am I doing that?
Right.
And
just question about like, do you find that when people say they hear masculinity, they automatically think selfish. Like a masculine guy is very selfish, but isn't part of being a true masculine is to serve the people around you, which includes family, friends, clients, brotherhood.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, true masculine is the one who shows up when you need somebody to help you move furniture, right? Or when you're stuck in a place, you go there to serve them as they need them. So I know that for myself, that was a hard thing to provide, because I felt that I was serving all the time, and not for me I was never able to receive, and I still struggle with receiving on that. Right. So if you look at a masculine leader, how would you say that you'd show up to serve others? Like, what would your role be?
Well, I think, if we're talking about the leadership, one of the biggest, most important part, for me anyway, would be just to listen. Like you can't just, if you want to truly lead, you got to learn to listen. God gave you 2 years and 1 month for a reason, right? So listen a little more,
proportionally, right?
Listen a little more, and then speak. So when you're trying to lead and support, a big piece of that equation is just listening, and discovering what they're thinking about or what's driving whatever it is. If it's a performance issue, then it's about to say, hey, what's going on with you? And then allow them to tell you what's going on. Because, if, especially in let's say sales, if someone who's a high performer and they suddenly drop off, it's probably not because they don't know what they're doing. It's probably other layers where they're maybe don't feel comfortable talking to you about it. Maybe you haven't demonstrated a safe zone where they can come as the leader. So it could be different pieces. And you can talk more about this because of what you do for sure, and your expertise on it. But that piece, I think, is really important, the listening piece.
What I'm going to do is read these out. And if something jumps out at you, want to dive deeper in, just please do.
Okay. Do you mind if I just jump on?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to tail off something, because the listening's absolutely there. It's like that awareness piece. And this goes into that whole bit of how do I serve better? Awareness through listening, observation in the others, 100%. Acknowledging it, and it's like, okay, these things are that. And then the last and the most critical piece is the action. I'm really doing the AAABBB sort of thing today.
Well, I'm waiting for CC. I wonder what those are.
I'll come up with something. But the whole thing. And then again, a lot of things that drive me nuts is when I see people that they know that they've got to do something to fix their neighborhood, to fix themselves, to fix their family, and they don't act.
Right.
And it's like it's French gros pas la petit faiseur, like big talker, little actor.
Three of you speak French. I don't.
This is our Canadian commitment for the Canadian content for the day, right? That so much on the listening bit is the way to be able to get there. But the whole thing at the end, and this is a big part of the masculinity, is act. To act.
But don't you think that most men live in fear that they're going to do the wrong thing? Because it's funny, because you read so many different things on the internet, and they have so much information, but they're so paralyzed.
You're a failure.
Yeah, you know what? At the end here, it's better to take any action than no action at all.
Yeah. And that's where, as servant leaders, being in our masculine, we almost have an obligation to champion others. Yes, we listen to them, but we don't want them to fucking complain nonstop all the time and be the victim, right? Right? We want them to take action. So the least we can do as we are in service to them is stand up for them,
Champion them.
champion them,
Yeah.
call it out for what it is, and be like, look, I love you, I see you, and I hear you. This is what I'm observing, and I'm here for you, and I want you to be aware that this is what's happening, and you got to do something about it, man. Right. And that to me is a way to serve others in a healthy way. And you can communicate that in a way that's, some people might take it the wrong way, right?
Mhm.
But you do it from the heart and you do it from a good place, and that's the best you can do.
If you come from a place of love, it's hard to argue with that.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to go back. So provide, serve, direction, truth, structure, courage,
Yeah.
support, stamina.
Well, that courage piece, I mean, people are living in fear, right? Like, I'll tell you, I was scared shitless to jump into my business full time.
The universe decided that for you anyway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
but I had already come up with the courage to do it, which is interesting, right? And because of that alignment, it happened naturally. But courage is a big one.
Yeah, stamina is, I think, another important piece, because you have to remember it's never always going to be perfect, right? And so, you're going to go through a stretch where, things were challenging, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, but you have to remember you got to keep going. So you need to have, number one, you got to be strong within and emotionally and mentally, and then continue on with what your end vision is of what you want, because it's going to be there. There's going to be things that are going to derail you a bit.
And there's a close relationship between stamina and resilience.
Oh, dude, you just took the.
There you go.
I was like, sorry.
So I see in that discipline, stamina, and resilience, right? Like those are the three things that really, listen, ideas are great. Things you do are great, but if you don't have the stamina, the resilience, and the discipline to keep going, it doesn't matter. You're never going to get to the end.
Right.
And so many of us are so much closer than we think, and we give up way too soon.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to fail to win. Like you really have to, whatever it is, you wanted to start this big company and you went all in, and you did it, and it didn't work. Well, you've learned probably what you're going to do on the next venture you do.
Failures are great.
Yes.
As much as I hate to admit it, and I hate to admit how many times it stopped me, it's like it's been where I'm at today is a direct result of how I've been resilient to failure.
Yeah. I think the only failure in life is when you just give up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no thing to fail. Like, listen, we learn things like, let's face it, when you're getting taught, the teacher talks, right?
Yeah.
When you're being tested, everything's quiet. So when the teacher's talking, it's easier. You go out there and you're doing things, all of a sudden everything's all quiet. You're now being tested by the universe. Is this what you really want? You're there alone. You're trying to bear through, and you're like, where the fuck is everybody that was helping me? Now I'm on my own here and I'm struggling and all that kind of stuff. You're being tested. Don't give up. Do your best you can. And if you fail that test, don't worry about it. You learn the things that, I have to get this, that, the other. Learn the new skills. Take action afterwards.
Right.
Don't get paralyzed by the outcome. It doesn't matter. Like, we always have this expectation. It's supposed to look like A. Well, I got Z. Well, I wanted A, I got Z, so Z's meant to be meant to happen. And you know what? Be accepting as a man. Be accepting where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
We forget about that too. Give yourself some grace. You know what? I don't like it here, but obviously it's putting me in this direction for some reason or another. Let's move on.
And this too will pass.
Yes, too shall pass.
Yeah, and the beauty about action is that it requires you to do something now, right? And one of the main reasons people get paralyzed or they fear or they give up is because they're not living now. They're living about the what ifs in the future or what they experienced in the past. So if we can separate those things and be fully present in the moment, we can take action a lot more effectively.
So we talked about stamina, resourceful, focused, grounded, giving, generosity of spirit.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Unthreatened by the.
I want to go back to that one. How many people in your lives can you pinpoint male, people, role models in our life that you can still recall their spirit?
A lot. Right? Like,
Yeah, there's a few.
few of my uncles,
Yeah, right.
my grandmother,
My dad.
your dad. My dad, I still have my dad, so that's a good thing. I'm blessed on that.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that we forget that we're all interconnected spiritually, all of us, right? When you walk into a room and you haven't seen anybody for a long time, all of a sudden you see them, you automatically feel that connection. That's all. This is, you know, to go there and reconnect with them. So I think sharing what your soul is calling you to do is one of the probably most important things that anybody can do for another human being.
Yeah.
Like, you know, cancer, grief, counselor, right? Leadership, mortgage pro. And I'm not, and like the great dad, listen, the guy's salt the earth, and then I'm still trying to find my way and how I can share my spirit with people. So I'm hoping this podcast helps. Right?
Isn't that a part of masculinity though? Always discovering and always stretching and always moving.
Excavating.
Yeah, man. Always discovering who you are. Like there's so many layers to us. I think we give up. We just think that we look ourselves in the mirror like, and you define yourself what you see, but you got to dig deep. It's like a mountain. Like you so much gold and diamonds and emeralds and jewels and such little nuggets of amazing things that you haven't even discovered about yourself. Yeah. And I think part of being a healthy masculine is being curious.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he wrote this down here. No, he did not. But being curious about who you are and who you're willing to be and what you want to become.
And imagining the possibilities.
Yeah.
Right? Like what's possible?
Everything.
Yeah, there's no limitation in what you envision for yourself. Like if you want it.
And for others too.
Yeah, and for others. Yeah.